We've been attending Rose for 4 years. 3 years.
What?
How long have we
4
been going
years?
here? Well,
2!
what are you talking about?
Should we do that again?
Yeah, we'll redo that.
It's 2 years.
I thought it was 4.
2022.
Oh, I thought
We're
it was
latecomers.
2020.
No, we're not OGs.
My name's Ezra. This is my wife, Carlie. We've been attending Rose for 2 years.
I think my approach to money has always been from a position of lack. So there was always a fear of never having enough. And even if I was working and earning money and, I had stuff in the bank account, there was still this fear of money and giving.
Money was more of a not really an issue ever. So for me, it was always, if you have money, you can give it away. If you need more money, you can always work for it. Because I grew up in a farming background, so it was always, there was time periods where you have a lack of money, and there's time periods where you have a lot of money. So you just learn to become very comfortable with not having money, and when you have excess money. Going from being single where you have your own money, it's always there, to all of a sudden now there's bills to be paid and now there's responsibility for the money. That was the first time I actually had to learn to give it over to God a little more willingly.
Yeah, for Heart for the House, that last year, that was fundraising for this building. And I still vividly remember the big picture on the screen where they had the breakdown of all of the amounts that they needed certain people to, or not certain people, but this many people need to give this much amount, this much money in order to meet the goal. We had really started plugging in more and taking it a lot more seriously. And we were noticing differences in how we were with each other and even who we were as people. God was really moving in us through what he was doing at Rose. And so when I saw that screen, I just felt that pull to give back to a church that has given so much to us.
After Pastor Mark was done talking, we kind of looked at each other and went, so what was your number? And I know she was far more timid, oh, please don't tell me your number kind of thing. So I know it's going to be, yeah. It's going to be bigger.
And with me being a student, my income's way lower. So really every summer we just save to get through the winter. So then when he said the amount, and I'm like, that's not even in the bank. And if we can't even give that in the bank, that means we have nothing for the winter.
We didn't know how we were going to do it, because when we got home, it was just like Carlie said, we don't have it in the bank. It wasn't a pre-planned thing we ever thought of having to give. But then Carlie had a moment.
Oh no, my eyes are burning. And then it was I'll back up a little bit. So we had been saving for a couple of years to go on a trip to Hawaii. It was just a really hard season. And so all the way along, our motivation to just keep going was, let's just put a little bit of money here and there. Our reward when it's all said and done will be to go to Hawaii. That'll be our light at the end of the tunnel. I had been sitting there, and then God made it very clear that the money that we had put aside for Hawaii was not going to be used for Hawaii anymore, and that we were meant to give it. I don't remember the story, but I remember King David, and he said, I will not give that to God, which costs me nothing. And then I went, well, that is what's going to cost us something. There was just something special about what we experienced when we were here. And so if we could just be a small part in making it possible for more people to have that impact, then it's take it, I don't need to hold on to it anymore. It's yours. And then of course I go to him and I'm like, hey, Ezra, I think we got to give that trip to Hawaii. He's like, sure, no problem. So when we had pulled out the money that we had set aside for Hawaii and added it all up, it ended up being what we needed to match the amount that Ezra felt like God was asking us to give. Because you feel the pain in that moment, but then when it clicks and you see how God moved all the way through and helped us connect those dots, it was, I don't know. It was just cool to see him do that. And it's hey, this is what that's about, you know?
At that point, it didn't even hurt anymore. It was one of those, it became almost fun.
But it's also will you trust me with that? It means this much to you, there's value to it, but will you trust me and give it to me anyway?
How we really felt it after Heart for the House was more phenomenal than we ever could have expected, actually. We have our own small hobby farm. We didn't have any savings for buying any more hay for the animals. All of a sudden, our guy that we buy hay from just showed up and gave us, hey, And we're just like, well, that's unheard of, that you knew that we needed something, and it arrived on time. Later on, we really felt it when Carlie had to do a tuition thing, and we didn't have the money for you to go back.
My loans had been falling through over and over again, and so that at least provides a cushion to get through the semester. But then time and time again, I was getting rejected. We are starting at ground zero financially, and then now I have to come up with thousands more dollars to make it through school.
Yeah.
My aunt, out of the blue, had offered to give us a check for a substantial amount of money that covered all of my tuition costs.
The exact amount we needed.
And so that little nudge from him was another, like, right, you are my shepherd, you provide, I can trust you. And then we let it go. And then, the hay came, and all of these miracles happened one after another. Yeah, it was actually, like, talk about God building up trust, like, I think he just knew
what we needed.
What we needed. And then now it's like not even a question. It's like something comes up, I'm like, no, God will provide. I think it's just, he's such a loving and good father. And so I think when you have a revelation of who he is, it makes it easy to surrender to him what's his, because really our money and our resources, anything that we have is not our own, but we've been entrusted with it as stewards. And so when you realize, okay, this isn't actually mine anyway, there's just this partnership that happens, and it just becomes easy to surrender back what's his, and then he blesses you 10 times fold. 10 times fold, 10 times over.